Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's pick a card is inspired by me receiving a deck that I did back on Kickstarter, though it actually ended up coming through somewhere different to Kickstarter. The details, if you're interested in the tarot deck, are in the description box below. You can get it through Make Playing Cards. But it's a deck called Source the Infinite, which is actually a creation of one of our community. And in fact, I interviewed Adriana, the creator of this deck, a little while ago, and I've got the link to that interview in the description box as well too if you didn't see it and you're interested in it after this. But what Adriana's done here is create a tarot deck that I feel is very connected to what its title, its name says, Source the Infinite. And as such, sort of is in monochrome, black and white. And I've been looking for a black and white deck that spoke to me for a very long time. And I was really happy that when Adriana approached me to say she was doing this as one of our collective, that this was a deck that I genuinely felt really drawn to. So I wanted to do, once I had the deck, pick a card that showcases it. I think eventually Adriana and I will do a collaboration. She's in the process of looking at how to use her deck and doing stuff on her channel. So that I think is something that'll come up in the next few months. So we'll just wait till she feels ready to do that. But I didn't want to wait on showing the deck because if, like me, you're a reader and you're looking for a deck that is monochromatic but also has really interesting artwork and really interesting ideas within it, I think this one might fit the bill for you. And in any case, I haven't done a really esoteric reading for quite a long time. I do semi-esoteric readings a lot, but I really wanted to do something that's at that level with this particular reading. So given that it's called Source the Infinite, I'm just channeling here source through your soul, so to speak, to a message that you need to have. So of course it's the collective souls, and sort of almost kind of like combinations across different piles, but the idea is what is the key message you need for your soul, for your development, all of that kind of thing at the moment. And it may pick up as we explore it and during the reading, it may pick up some 3D world sort of mundane things that you'll need to know about. And I don't use the word mundane as in a pejorative sense. I use it just as it is kind of the day-to-day stuff, but I'm really pitching this on something about your soul's journey, your spirit's journey, and the kind of skills and abilities and spiritual gifts and archetypes or whatever that are associated with that and this stage of your journey. So this is what it's about. You can of course go to more than one reading because maybe it's a bit of an amalgam across a couple. That's fine. And if you always go to pile 3, go to pile 3. But what I did do to try and help with the choice is that I shuffled and then I said to Spirit, the first 3 major arcana cards I deal out will be the 3 for the pile choice. So for pile number 1, we got the Star, which interestingly enough is, I find this fascinating, is in fact the image on the actual deck's box. So it's one of the first images, I think, if I remember correctly, that Adriana had. So the Star, pile 2 has the Tower, and pile 3 has the Hanged Man. So very interesting major arcana to come out actually when we're doing something as profound as a kind of message direct from source. So when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I have the timestamps as always in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Star. And what I feel when I look at this, and I think I may be remembering something that Adriana said, or maybe it's just what I get when I look at it, is all the sort of things that they say that in actual fact we are all creations of stars. We just in terms of like the sort of physical sort of creation in the world and the creation of matter, we are all kind of stars that have burnt bright and are now on Earth, that kind of feeling I get. So I think that there's a sort of sense of this message is about your celestial origins and how they're playing out now for kind of the right distribution of your energy. Because if you look at this, it's sort of like the star, it's like a starburst, and then there's this sort of sense that this tail energy is almost what comes down to Earth. So I feel like there's something here that's about your origin, your soul family probably, particularly when I look at the 2 Path of the Illuminated Soul cards that are part of this message as well. There's something here about being with the right people. that's part of you following your North Star, part of your direction now, because these are either sequential. I think actually I think for you it is sequential. Some it may not be, and this will depend on how the readings play out. But these are kind of energies that are around the message. And the first one, boundaries, the iron gate, says only unlock your gate to the very trusted few who you allow through. So there's something here about discernment. So it's like, yes, we all come from stars, but like maybe it's who comes from the same star as you or the same constellation as you. For some of you, this may be a confirmation of a starseed type origin as well. But there's something here about some crucial connections are coming in, but you need to be able to differentiate what ones are real and what ones aren't, because we've also got calling the two flames. The flames that dance throughout the night are called to unite. So this is like connecting with the right ones. For some of you, it may be something like a soul twin or a twin flame connection that's coming in, if that's something you believe in. But otherwise, I think it might be about finding your soul family. But like there might be something about either the spiritual path you're pursuing or where you work or the people that you are mixing with, where it would be possible to let the wrong ones in. It would be possible for a false connection to come up. So it's about the purity of where did you come from. I think this is a key part. Now, the other bit that I wanted to do to set the scene is that I have a deck that has astrology and the Kabbalah and Hebrew power letters in it. I took out of it the Sephiroth from the Tree of Life. So for anybody unfamiliar with that, the Tree of Life has 10 Sephiroth plus a 11th invisible one called Da'at, which is a bit like a kind of the void of creation and also the life review kind of energy. How I view it, to try and simplify, it's much more complex than this, but is that it's like when the divine created all of us, the sparks came down into the world, much like the star coming down from the celestial realms. We replicate the same set of personality aspects, but obviously in different combinations and different levels, because we're all different. But the divine had a number of balanced energies that cause creation that are almost like their personality aspects, and we then replicate it as above, so below, with our own individual essence. So I think it's interesting, therefore, to actually shuffle and see what Sephiroth out of all of those, what emanation is important to this message. So, and I wanted to, it could be that the same one comes up in all the readings. This is why I didn't just have it sort of put under there. I felt very strongly to make sure that that's a possibility if that's what Spirit wants to do. So for you, for this finding of your people, the Sephiroth, oh, wow, is Da'at. Okay, so as I said, the 11th, Sephiroth, it's actually probably almost like the 4th, but it's kind of outside of it. It's like it comes between Binah and then the next realm down. So it's just after what they call the supernal triangle, which is Keter, Hokmah, and Binah, which is the most close to the divine kind of energy. But Da'at is walking the razor's edge, as it says. It is the area of limitless possibility. It is, I think, personally, the abyss that high magicians cross, and not an abyss in the sense of some hell energy, just of the kind of formless potentiality where we know ourselves and where we have to know ourselves. So there's something here about knowing yourself. And I think that for you, it's about self-knowledge and who you are connected to. And it's almost like going back to that first principle. It's going back to the first principle of when you were coming into the world in this time. What are your connections? Now, both the interesting thing and the challenge of this for you is because it wasn't one of the standard Sephiroth where you could say, okay, if you were God has said, you are in a soul family that is about kindness and caring, for instance, as a primary thing. Or if you had Gevurah, it's discipline, will, and that kind of action, that sort of thing. So it's sort of, there are different aspects which could have said something about your soul family. This is like the infinite. So I think that there is something about you as a group, and finding the right ones for you. One of the ways that I think this is talking to you about knowing it, well, there's two things. One is it could be the group of high magicians, the people who are, would belong in a mystery school, would belong in some sort of magical tradition, would any of those sort of things. Absolutely, because becoming initiation, and this has got something to do with you learning who you are and connecting with who you're meant to be connected with. But the other one I think could be creatives, because I feel as though when we talk about creativity and when we talk about possibility, the art to me is that sort of limitless void out of which creation can occur. And it's sort of like if you started with the supernal triangle with the divine intellect and the divine understanding of Hokmah and Binah, it has to then become something. And then it goes down through the rest of the Sephiroth. So it's a kind of a place of becoming, which to me is what creativity is. So I feel that for some of you, this is about initiation into some high magical order, or if not literally that, you finding, a mystical path or something like that, very much that kind of thing. For others of you, it is the creative wellspring, and other truly creative people are part of this. So it's going to depend on who's come to the reading, but this is all about you finding your people, and it may be a combination for some of you of both. So I know I have very interesting people who come to my readings, so I think that this one has constellated quite a few. So let's see what else we can get from the tarot. So we're just going to ask a little bit more about the key message. We're going to ask about what you would kind of already know about it, and also then what has been hidden up till now. So what else does Source want to say to you about, I think, your origin and your people? I think this is what this is about. Wheel of Fortune, the Nine of Cups, the Nine of Swords. Oh, that's interesting. The Knight of Swords reversed, Judgment, and the Three of Wands. I'm having to learn what some of the images are here, so bear with me on that. And sorry about the glare. I'm going to try and see if I can get the light that's above this table, the bulb taken out, and see if that will help. But at the moment, I need the light, so it's kind of, that's the balance, the trade-off in a sense. So okay, this is definitely the right time for this. This is the time. It is a time for working out what your dream truly is. And what Source wants you to know is that there is both reason to be careful with the Nine of Swords and to be fearful, but also reason to be optimistic. And that's why we've got that kind of energy. It's like when there is the potentiality of Da'at, then you also have the potentiality of finding your people, the potentiality of getting it wrong. So this is the razor's edge, the razor's edge between bliss, the wish, the dream, the perfect outcome, and the fear. And as I say, for some of you, I think some of you who are coming to this reading are initiates. I think this is actually talking, for some of you, it's talking about an initiatory process, and crossing the abyss in magical terms is how you come to know yourself, deal with all of that, understand yourself, deal with all your fears. And in certain, I think, magical traditions, they talk about attain conversation with the holy guardian angel. So the concept of really connecting to the source, or connecting to the holy guardian angel that helps guide you. But it is a perilous process in as much as it does bring you face to face with who you truly are. And one has to kind of look at that without fear. But the time is right. So for some of you, it's literally that. But if it's not that you're literally doing it, it's almost as though something is going on. It might be the choice between two love partners, one who is right and one who isn't, and you've got to really sort that out, and the time is right to do that. It could be about working out whether, the family you were born with is your soul family, or whether there's a different soul family. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to walk away from the birth family if it isn't bad or anything, but it's like there's a discernment going on. And there's a lot of joy potentially, but there's also risk associated with it. So Source is saying, or the Spirit is saying, you don't have to rush it. And the fear, the one thing that might make you rush and be too hasty is fear. And the thing about the Nine of Swords is that it's never as bad as it appears. And this is the thing also about Da'at. What I often think about with Da'at, if you are familiar with the TV series Twin Peaks, I often feel Da'at is a little bit like what that canon or that mythology has called the Black Lodge. And the Black Lodge within Twin Peaks is kind of like, it's fearful if you let your fear take over you. Otherwise, you can move through it. And you move through it to get to the White Lodge, which to me almost always feels like Keta. So there's a similar thing here. You don't have to rush it. Don't let fear rush you. This is meant to happen, and this is a karmic thing. And you will be called to make a decision, And it will have a time period around it, but you don't have to rush it. It's kind of like getting that into balance. It's not like it's like you're going to have 2 seconds and that's it. It might be that you have a week. You know, like there's a time period around whatever this is that calls you. It's a calling. It's calling you to something. And then I think you determine who are your people that you move forward with and who don't you move forward with. So I think there's a process with this of, do I commit to, if it's a high magic thing, do I commit to this group, to this lodge, to this, whatever you want to call it, or not? If it's around love, do I commit to this one or that? If it's around friendships or whatever, like what is my direction from there? And you have to go through this process before you know what that direction is. So given that, what do you already know about this message? Pile 1. Ace of Cups reversed. Ace of Swords reversed. Wow. 10 of Pentacles. 2 of Pentacles reversed. And 6 of Cups reversed. Okay. The second element of this that you know, or what is probably making you understand that there are choices about who you connect with and who you are and understanding your origin. You need to go back to your origin to understand it. And that's a thing that you haven't fully done. And that's something that you know you need to do. But it's also because something you, emotional and intellectual, is wanting to be born. To me, that's like Chokmah and Binah. So it's like there's an understanding intellectually that is waiting to be born. There is an understanding emotionally that kind of rounds it out. So this is going to create a change in your life, a new beginning, a new relationship, a new approach. It's not, but it hasn't, you haven't done it yet. You've got to go through the process of making the choice to do that. And you know that. You have the sense the big change is coming. And it will be a long-lasting change. It creates a legacy. It is the much longer lasting connection to other souls and so forth in your soul family rather than just your material family, though for some of you your bloodline is also your soul family. It depends on who comes to this, but it's a new thing and it has a legacy associated with it. The one thing that you do know is when you are given choices, the one thing you can't do is just go and do what you've always done before. This is a call to something new. So if, for instance, this was about love, if there's a certain type that you always go for and then there's someone very different, this is probably the call to someone very different. So it's as an example, if this is about, if you've done a number of spiritual things and you feel it's never got to your core, then you need to leave behind all the ones you've done and go and do something different because it's to find the path of initiation for you. So this is about the new. You know that it's ready to be born. You know that it's a balance of philosophy and emotion, and you know that it's meant to create a new legacy. What has been hidden from you that is going to be revealed through this? The 4 of Cups, the 4 of Swords, the 7 of Pentacles, the Devil reversed. There is a release from something associated with this. And that's kind of shutting the door to what is wrong. There is a release. So some past patterns did not suit this, did not suit your soul's purpose, was not true to your origin. And you're going to become clearer and clearer on that. Because what you're going to see through a process of sifting through what is emotionally blocked and what is intellectually blocked, and that you need to kind of look at both, that's how you're going to do this. You're going to find what will naturally grow. And in doing it, you release the things from the past that slowed that down, that stopped it, or that trapped you in something that was not authentic to you. The other thing I feel I've got to say, because I do think some of you, this is like you're going to go through some initiatory process, some crossing the abyss. You will find there is not some dark energy that you have to worry about. Like you will find you can cross it and achieve conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel if that's what you want to do. And that's a very light-filled process. It's heading towards the flames. It's interesting that it fell there. There's a release to find what is true from something that was not authentic. So on another level, that could just be what it is. In some aspect of your life, you are moving from the inauthentic to the authentic. And understanding yourself and what you believe and what you feel as a core part of that provides you that solid foundation that you can grow with. Okay, so let's have a look at 3 archetypes sort of spiritually that either will be aspects of you or part of the energy to help you. The forest mystic, grounding and alignment. Yeah, there is something very grounding about this. I think one of the touchstones in this is what feels like it is materially true, what feels like it's grounded, what feels like it could actually last. Growth has got something to do with this. And certainly for some of you, being out in nature may be a way that you can really trigger this. I'm also getting for some of you shamanic journeying. Then we have the seafarer, adventure, exploration, and resilience. It's funny that that fell kind of where the art is. Like, that's kind of what I think the art feels like. It's like, it would be like being on the sea at night and finding your way through. I think this is like, see this as an adventure, see this as an exploration, see this as uncovering the new. Don't have fear. You don't need fear. This is not, the only fear would be staying stuck and not going on the journey and therefore letting the wrong people in. This process is a process of discernment. And the spirit guide, a connection to nature and animals. Again, yeah, I do think shamanic journeying for some of you would be really helpful here. But beyond that, it's like you have strong spirit guides around you. And again, if you are in some sort of magical tradition, you are very strongly connected to nature. That's a big part of this, but you have a very strong spirit guide, and it could be, again, the connection with the Holy Guardian Angel, if that's what you want to do. So if those are the archetype energies for you in this adventure of finding your people or your person or whatever it is, we're just going to pull a card from the Rainbow Oracle for what your 5D self says, having sort of had this message from Source. What does your 5D self have to say about these three aspects? Around the forest mystic, heart magic. Create your world from your heart. It's your magic wand of the universe. So it does need to be heart-centered. This is why we've got the sense of love and so forth over there. It doesn't have to be romantic love. Actually, I just want to show her face. It doesn't have to be romantic love, but it does need to show your heart. So your heart is part of this. Your heart is kind of your navigator in terms of the exploration and being prepared to face the art. Oh, explore. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes the spirit is really on point. A soul adventure calls you. Explore the uncharted waters of your inner and outer world. This is very much an inner world, I've got to say. But it will have an outer world application. In doing the exploration, you find your people. And for the spirit guide, Atlantean soul. Your Atlantean soul brings service to humanity and an awareness of universal identity. So I would say you have a spirit, probably have a past life connection to Atlantis, and you probably have a spirit guide around this who is connected to Atlantis. So it's kind of, again, connecting you back to, and it may be a bit of, if part of this is for you finding your soul family, it might be giving you an idea of what that is. Now, I'm also going to draw a couple of astrology cards that are just planetary pairings to see what other energies are associated with this message for you. Sun and Mercury. So that's you finding your life, part of your people, your life with your mind. As I said, part of this is your mind. One of the things actually in this that I think is important is I've come across quite a lot of people in the spiritual community who will say a version of, you just have to shut off your mind. Your mind is the thing that gets in the way. And to be honest, it really irritates me because we have all the energies for a reason. The heart and the emotion is, of course, one of those, and that's important, but so is the mind. This is very much saying that communication that's coming to you, your mind, and how you understand that in relation to your life path is important. If something doesn't make sense to you, if something feels like it's all smoke and mirrors, then trust that instinct, because there is something where you could be in some sort of spiritual group that's saying that, like, just shut your mind off and don't think. And that's usually what cults do. So just to be aware that the mind is important. And Mars and Neptune. And then it's to be brave, to go into the liminal, to take action in the liminal. If you know that your mind will navigate this to the right course for your life, and you're confident of that, then you have the capacity to go into the liminal, to be the seafarer in the unconscious, and it gives you the bravery to do it. So I think that's the two things. It's knowing that you've got like a BS radar, basically, that'll really help you, and then that gives you the courage to move into the liminal and see what you get. Okay, so overall, this energy is all about you exploring yourself, finding your people, but for some of you, it's profoundly initiatory, and for others of you, it's a process of aligning your heart and your mind to know how you can make the right choices that will last in life. What I wanted to finish with is that people often say that the music of the spheres, and that music is one of the highest order ways that we are communicated with by source. So I have a new oracle called the Witchy Woman Oracle, and I wanted to just draw a song. Now this oracle has songs from probably the last 50 years or so. And they do have a tilt towards love, but love is the heartbeat of the universe, so that's all fine. But I just wanted to sort of see a final message. And if you know the song, you might want to go and listen to it or look at its lyrics. I don't know all the songs in here, so I will just say what we get and what I feel with for that. But it's like if the source was singing you a song to bring this all together, that song would be Hold the Line. Hold the Line. That is a sense of like, see it through. I also think the fact that like this shows like a skeleton. It's not saying that you have to die, or it's going to be that long till you get love or anything. But I think it is showing that the very deep connection of soul and spirit and long-lasting things. So I think it's like, hold on to this, see it through, be brave. That is going to be your navigation. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So I often think when people come, if they've chosen to, because of the card at the beginning, when they come to the Tower, they're quite brave, because it's probably, of all the cards in the tarot, the one that people kind of, who are well versed in the tarot, worry about the most. I personally think it's a really good card, because I think major change is sometimes necessary, but it is about major change. So we knew that there was going to be something like that in this. And I think that while this is going to be, about your soul and your life path and all that kind of thing, I think it may also have a very real world situation here, because when I look at the path of the illuminated soul, we start first, and this may be in an order, and I think it probably is, this to this is what the Tower is actually providing. We start with distorted, the grotesque, that carved in stone crumbles on the spire. Was it all a lie? I think there is something about this, whether it's spiritual, whether it's relationship, whether it's career, whether it's money, whether it's family, there is something that has to fall. That's what the Tower is about, because it is no longer authentic to you, or no longer authentic to what your soul needs. Could be painful, have been quite a shock. Sometimes the Tower is quite a shock. I think for most who've come here, if this is the right reading for you, and if that's what it is, you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, but you still feel like this is the right reading, then this may be a very profound enlightenment you're going to have around something spiritual, where you may have believed something and then you start to think, no, I don't believe that anymore. The good news is, in either case, we have illumination, the moon. It says, Mother guide me, Mother light me, the journey begins. A couple of things I get very strongly from that. One is that I feel that you're going to have a very powerful feminine spirit guide around you, a kind of mother energy or nurturing energy to help you through this. For some of you, it may literally be that a maternal figure of some sort may help you work through a shock to the system that brings you the illumination and the light. For others, it's probably a spirit guide. But I feel like the other thing with the moon is that it is bringing things up to the surface that had to be seen. And in that way, I'm correlating it to the moon in the tarot. So it is a gentle light. It's also a reflective light. If you think about the moon, its light isn't of its own self. It comes from the reflection of the sun. So I think that there's something here where their inner reflection on a situation brings you the illumination, and that there's a nurturing element in the end, and a gentler element than you would expect. So whatever this is, say it was something that was very 3D, say it was that there was a job loss coming up because an organization was falling. Probably in retrospect, the organization was not good, was not healthy. Something was going on that wasn't right there. This brings the illumination and a guidance to go to something better. I do think whatever this is something better is coming. If it was that, you were following a spiritual group, but in the end it turned out to be, false, then understanding that brings you to a deeper truth. So whatever is happening, there's a shock to the system that had to happen because something was not what it appeared to be, but illumination is coming, and it's a gentle sort of illumination. So the tower falling will not be as dramatic as it might otherwise have been. Now, what I also wanted to do, because we're going to the source, before we get into the tarot in a little bit more detail, I wanted to use my Astro Kabbalah deck that has amongst its cards all the Sephiroth from the Kabbalah. So if you're familiar with the Kabbalah, you will know that they're sort of like the divine emanations. They're almost like personality aspects of the divine coming down into the world. And so we reflect that as above, so below. So what I wanted to see was what energy of those emanations is really being triggered for you for whatever this message is from source. So I deliberately just kept them out, and I'm shuffling for it because I don't know, we could get the same one in all of them. You know, I didn't want to sort of like say whatever comes up in pile 1 can't come up in 2 or 3 because I put them under the cards. So we will just see what we get. So what is this Sephiroth that is also part of the jigsaw here to understand the message from source? Binah, yeah, I'm not surprised. I almost said because of the mother. So that's what Binah is. There's something very feminine, deeply feminine in this. You don't have to be feminine. You don't have to identify with that. I think it's more like an external energy, like, you know, goddess energy, Gnostic Sophia, any of those sort of things. There's something about that. And that's where the illumination is coming from. It's also an aha moment that brings together a kind of intellectual clarity with an understanding that is emotional. That's what Binah is. You know, like Chokmah, which comes before it, is just the divine thought without the differentiation of almost human emotion. Binah brings in an understanding of emotion, understanding of the feeling side of it. And as that, it has faith, but also sorrow. Once we have emotion in the thing, we almost have an investment in an outcome. Whereas Chokmah is almost like, it is what it is. Binah is, it may well be what it is, but we also have a feeling about that, and we need to understand it. There's no superior Sephiroth or whatever, but I always feel Binah is a really powerful energy for us in this world because it does combine that clarity with that understanding. So there's something about that. This is all about coming to understanding, but it could have sorrow, but the sorrow leads to faith. But the law is polarity. You can't, whatever the tower needs to fall, it needs to fall. It's not like you can continue with it in your life. You need to go to what is new. But the womb of creation provides the new energy. I'm just getting, for some of you, it may be that this is actually a very positive breakthrough when you least expect it. You might have been going through, you know, some sort of difficulty in trying to conceive. And like you were using all the wrong sort of things or whatever, and then there's an aha moment, it comes together and you literally conceive. Like, that's going to be very specific, but if you are looking for that, this could be a sign that breakthrough is coming. But I think there's a change that needs to happen, a change in, you know, the approach physically to it, you know, like your diet or something like that, a change. Or it just could be that it was being held back until the right energy was coming through and the right soul wants to come through. So, but as I say, that's very specific if it's you as the mother. Otherwise, I think this is more a very strong feminine guide energy for you to take you through this to the illumination. So let's see a little bit more about what this illumination is really. What's the journey? And we're going to have a look at what you already know about it and then what has been hidden up till now using the tarot. So a little bit more about the message from source. We have the Ace of Swords reversed, the Nine of Cups, the Star, the Four of Cups reversed, the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Cups. Here, it's a very strong feminine energy around this. So it could be that, you know, sisters, mothers, lovers, depending upon your preference and so forth, could be very strongly associated with this, or it's just over and over saying that there's a kind of like the Queen of Heaven in a way is helping you here. It's a new idea. The tower hasn't fallen yet, I'd say, for most of you, but you probably have a sense of it coming. You have a sense that something's not right. But it's meant to release so that you can find the dream and get back on path with the star. So you've got the moon to guide you, the star to guide you. Now, what's interesting about both of those, of course, is that unlike the sun, the star and the moon light your way in the darkness. So I think it's really saying lights will be there for you when you're unsure, when you're unclear, to lead you towards what it is that you want. but you have to let go of the emotional blocks that were holding you back. That's what the Tower is all about. That allows you to create something that is both emotionally and kind of manifestly authentic. This is going towards authenticity. That's what this is about. And I do think for some of you, there may be women who really help. For some, it might be a woman's group that actually helps you in some way. But otherwise, as I say, a very strong sort of spirit guide. But it's like, it's kind of like it happens at night. So I think that most of the guidance can come through the spirit guide at night. So like astral travel, dreams, if you did shamanic journeying, doing it at night, that kind of thing. There's something about that, but it's also helping light the way when things aren't clear. Just as in a way a lightning strike is striking the tower, it's all about light in the darkness. So that's what I think this is about for you. Let's see what you know already. Ten of Swords, the Magician, the Fool. Wow, this is powerful. King of Swords, Knight of Swords. Okay, one of the things you know how I was banging on about Binar at the beginning and how Hokmah, is the kind of intellect, and then Binar actually kind of rounds that out with understanding. I think you know that you have, a lot of this has been about belief and ideas as opposed to the heart. Some of this breakthrough is the heart entering the citadel of the mind to allow the heart in. That's part of what's going on here. You know that something dramatic is either coming or has just happened. I think for many of you, you just sense it coming. But nevertheless, some of you, it might have just happened. You know that. And that an ending is necessary. And this is partly your own skills and abilities, spiritually and otherwise have made you understand that. So with the Magician, the good thing about the Magician upright is that your clarity is there. Clarity is coming, because if it had been reversed, I'd say, you're still caught in the maelstrom of what is not real. But this is, you've already understood that the tower needs to fall for the clarity and for your gifts to come through and for a new beginning to occur, with the kind of almost innocence. And again, if you think of it, the Fool is like the child in the tarot. It's like the new beginning, and that the mother is needed at that time. So that's coming. You also know that you've relied a lot on your mind. So that's why you need the guidance of Binar, whether it's your own internal heart, feminine energy, like emotional energy as opposed to mental, or whether it's that, maybe you've had a lot of guides and influences around you before that were kind of more of the male end of the spectrum. Maybe it's like moving to the female is what actually helps. This again is very specific, because we were talking before about, if somebody was having a child, but there's also, you could be actually going through some sort of gender transition. That could be happening. I'm not saying that's very specific. You'll know if it's the case. I'm not suggesting that you need to do that. It's not, nothing in this is saying you have to do that to do this, because a lot of this we can do internally, and gender is almost just a balance within us internally anyway. But this could be something like that for some of you. And you know that you need to do that. And you've got a lot of like good guidance around you, but it's been a thought before, and then it's of the heart. But as I said, that's so specific that please don't take that on if it doesn't fit. But there might be one person who watches this, and that's what it is. So I just felt I had to say it. So what is, but for most of you, it's about moving more to your heart, having really clarified and lived a lot in your mind. But it's also about getting clarity. It's like if there's a drama, you realise something's not true, whether it's a group that you're with, whether it's a belief structure you had, and you'll move quite quickly through that stage of it. So then what is still hidden that is going to sort of be revealed as this goes through, or that this reading can reveal to you now? The Five of Swords reversed, the Five of Wands reversed, the Empress. Oh yeah, like this has got to do with feminine energy. It really does. And the Hierophant. Wow. Okay. There is a very, like, I'm gonna call it, like, regardless of what this is, there's a very powerful female energy around this, like in terms of like a spiritual energy. Absolutely. And if any of you are kind of like, in some sort of magical initiatory thing, it's very Binar. It's absolutely Binar all over. So there is a kind of that side of you, that spiritual side of you is meant to rise. So if it's supporting you at the moment, it's meant to rise in you in whatever way. And it's a spiritual part of your journey. What you don't realize is that you can hold on more than you think. Like whatever this is, like not holding on to the past, it's going through the tower energy. You can hold on to the illumination. You can trust in it, because very quickly the kind of conflict or tension is going to dissipate, like quickly. Because in a sense, you already know, you just have to feel it. So this is going through the feeling. So whatever this is you already know that what is not true has to fall away. But you kind of almost been stopping you feel it. This female energy is going to help you feel it, and it'll go a lot quicker than you think. And this actually makes you understand how powerful you are in that space. Okay, so I just wanted to get a little bit more information about the message for you. So firstly, I wanted to look at some spiritual archetypes that are either within you being activated in this, or which represent energies that are supporting you. Or something a bit about the change, the tower process itself. So we're going to get 3 of those. Then we're going to use another oracle to see what your 5D self has to say about each. So first archetype. Mistress of despair, sorrow, loss and desolation. See, this is like there's something that's not good but the breakthrough is moving through that to something better. But as I say, Binah, to connect with the Great Mother, to connect with that, we have to connect with our heart. And when we connect with our heart, we have to allow that sometimes there's joy and wonder in the dream, and sometimes there's despair, sorrow, all that kind of thing. There is something that you have to process and go through to get to the light. So I'm sorry, Pole 2, but there is it. But that's part of the strengthening of the understanding, and you will get the guidance and support through it. The second archetype. The mermaid, the allure of the unknown. So yeah, allow yourself to be drawn to what is unknown. Allow yourself to explore the water energy, the emotional energy. And what is different about you? There's something here also about truly finding your authenticity, because the mermaid, of course, is like humans, but has the fishtail. So what is different about you? And the herbalist, organic remedies and natural healing. So there's a healing energy that's coming out of this, and connecting yourself more to nature. And that might be some of the Empress energy too. It might be a little bit like Demeter. Like what we might be looking at for you to some degree here is almost a kind of archetypal journey of Persephone and Demeter. Like when you think about that story, because I'm just feeling this with the Empress as Demeter. When you think about that story, Persephone is stolen by Hades into the underworld, into the darkness, where one has to find light to find the way out, or whatever. Demeter goes down and bargains for her to be able to return 6 months of the year, but the other 6 months of the year she has to be there. So this is a sort of understanding of both. Now, I don't think you get trapped. I think you're moving on. The tower is a much more, I'm going to break this energy and bring about the illumination. But there's something like that about you go into the despair, you go into the dark night of the soul, you start to understand who you are, you find your very strong feminine heart-based guide, and coming out of that, you bring that energy out for others. I think that's what we're looking at here. So let's have a look at what your 5D self has to say about each of these archetypes. So around the Mistress of Despair, the sun. Feel the warmth of the sun in this situation. Success and happiness awaits as you walk on a brighter road. It's saying it's dark now, but the light is coming. So we haven't had the sun till yet. And I'm saying like that, out of that then comes the sun. That's also like Persephone comes out of the underworld into the sun, into spring and summer. So this may even for some of you give you some timing around this. It may be around spring and summer that you emerge from this. It may be around fall/autumn, as we call it here in Australia, and winter that you go through the process of the tower. What do they want to say about the mermaid? Will you actually embrace the unknown? Unearth the earth. You are part of the process of unearthing the roots of fear from humanity to an awakened consciousness. Yeah, so what you're doing in this is a bit of a prototype to what others need to do. And it's unearthing the earth. There's something here, like it feels very Persephone, Demeter, as I say. It feels like really grounded in the earth, grounded in bringing to the rising consciousness. But we have to do that, we have to feel the pain and the shadow as well. Okay, and then the herbalist. Explore. A soul adventure awaits you. Explore the uncharted waters of your inner and outer world. So once you've done that, there's the freedom, see there, to have transformed. This is a transformative thing. You transform as a process of this. And then I think it's explore what your nature is after that. Okay, let's get a couple of astrology planetary pairings to see some more about the energy of this. Wouldn't surprise me if we get Uranus. I mean, we don't have to, but the Tower is a very Uranian sort of energy. So the first planetary pairing, oh yeah, here we go, is Moon Uranus. I didn't know that was going to come when I said that. It just occurred to me about the Tower. I thought I'd say it just in case it didn't, because the Tower is Uranian energy. Yeah, this is the emotion coming, the shock of emotion. There's a shock of emotion around this, but it's what's necessary. It's like it's a good thing. It's a clearing thing, but it may be painful at first. Won't be in the end, pile 2. And we also have, yeah, Mars and Chiron. Action creates healing. Some of you may become healers out of this. Some of you may become very strong spirit guides, even in earth, for others as a result of this. Very feminine sort of energy. As I say, you don't have to be a woman or identify with being a woman, but there's an action. And it's also, you know, I said like that, like there was this, the male Hokmah energy, like so Mars then with Chiron, the healing. Like when it gets to Binah, it's like the understanding. Also, it does mean that we kind of have to feel. Like if we numbed ourselves down so we don't have to feel, then feeling, you know, like of course can hurt at first, but then we actually have the understanding we can heal and we can move towards the light. I just suddenly had a flash. This is a pop culture reference, but if you ever watched the Vampire Diaries, in that there was sort of part of the canon of that was that vampires could shut down their feelings, but if they let their feelings came through, they couldn't really do vampire-y sort of things. So it's a similar sort of like idea, I think, that we're seeing there, that you have to kind of go through that to have that rounded energy and to be the light to others as well as to find the light going through it. Okay, so to finish off, I feel like if we're connecting with Source, I always think of the music of the spheres, and I always feel like music is maybe the most pure form of communication from Source. But, you know, here on Earth, we have songs and we have lyrics and things like that. So I just recently got an oracle called the Witchy Woman Oracle, which is just kind of showing spiritual energies around a whole bunch of different songs over the last 50 or so years. So I don't know all the songs in this, so I'm not necessarily going to be able to go, oh, I know what that song's about. And to some degree, that doesn't matter that much. It's really just what energy we see with it. But if you know the song, then you may be able to read things to it for yourself. You can go and look up the lyrics online. You can listen to it, that kind of thing. So it's just to bring it all together as a song from Source to you, to bring this message together. And that is Dancing in the Moonlight. Oh my goodness. Wow. That I do know that song. That's a lovely song. And it's an uplifting song. So I think, and look, you've got almost like butterflies. Like I think it's a promise to you that once you get to that point of the moonlight, then you're dancing, then you're free, then you can explore, then you're in nature. But that's a lovely song. I would suggest going and listening to it. I'm sure that there would be versions of it on YouTube and so forth. Just such a lovely ending to what the shock and awe of Tower and the grotesque to come to be dancing in the moonlight at the end. I feel a little bit emotional, actually. Got tears in my eyes. I think that's really lovely. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Hanged Man. And to me, if that's part of a message from Source, for a start, it's a very profound spiritual card. On a spiritual level, to me, it's sometimes self-sacrificial, sometimes the dark night of the soul, sometimes the path of the mystic. And I do think for some of you, that's what we're looking at here. In fact, I think we're looking at, and it may be a combination of all these things, or it may be, depending upon who comes to the reading, the path of the mystic, the path of the spiritual teacher, and the path of somebody who is finding spiritual enlightenment and spiritual love. And what different perspective, what delays could be associated with it, what sacrifices could be associated with it. And I'm differentiating the mystic and spiritual love, even though you could say they're the same thing, because a true mystic is, in a sense, in love with the divine or a source. But I am differentiating it for that reason, because for some, there could be a very powerful love relationship coming in. So it just depends, and we'll see what else we get. But when we look at the path of the illuminated soul, what I've found with this, I wasn't really sure how it was going to play out, like whether there's two aspects or whether it's going to be from here to here, but I'm feeling with all of them, it's from here to here. There's a sequential energy. So we start at the moment with answers, the wise one. Empty the mind, my child. What you are looking for can be found deep within. This is a profound, contemplative, different way of looking at things and bringing your wisdom up. This is something about accessing your wisdom, okay? Let's try not to have the glare too much on that. Finding your own wisdom, which then leads to eternal, the gold ring. To love is to know that I am sacred and my love is eternal. So for some of you, it may be about the wisdom to go within to know what true love would be, to recognize it if it's coming in. For others, it could be literally the mystical journey, going within to connect with the divine, and almost the abdication of the 3D world to do that. I mean, not entirely. You're still living in the 3D world, but there could be that kind of thing. But for others, it could also be with the wise one, the gold ring, the hangman. You could actually, this could be source calling on you to be a spiritual teacher on some level and to connect people through love. Not through wanting to be the smartest person in the room or the most spiritual person, but it's almost self-sacrificial. It's almost like you give yourself to this as a calling, as opposed to I'm just going to be, I'm going to have the most subscribers on YouTube and tell everybody how to run their life or something like that. It's like it's more self-sacrificial on that level. It's more pure. So it just depends. And we will see a little bit more about, what it may be if it's more one than the other when we look with tarot. But the other thing that might help us is that I have a deck called the Astro Kabbalah deck, and in it, amongst other things, are all the Sephiroth from the Tree of Life. So if you're familiar with the Tree of Life, it is emanations, it's divine emanations from source, from the divine, as almost a personality construct that we as human beings, as above, so below, have these aspects within ourselves to varying degrees and varying ways. So I feel that I took all the Sephiroth cards out, and I just wanted to see which Sephiroth is being primarily triggered. So the Sephiroths are the emanations. And that might give us a bit of an idea about where this energy, this wisdom and this love and this potential self-sacrifice, but I don't think it's a terribly difficult self-sacrifice in the sense. I don't think it's incredibly painful. I think it's just a spiritual thing. It's a different perspective. It's a stepping away to get to this. What aspect of life or what personality aspect of life might be being particularly triggered? That's what I think we'll get here. And I deliberately didn't shuffle and just put it out with these cards because I didn't know whether the same one might come up for two different readings. So far they've been different, but I don't know what will come up for this one. I wanted to have all the Sephiroth on the table, so to speak. So let's see what Sephiroth is most involved in this for you, pile 3. Tippereth. Wow, Christ consciousness, beauty, harmony, virtue. It's the sun energy, the life path energy. So whatever this is part of your life path. Look, the sacrificed ego, the wise one and the heart. Like I think if this is about being a spiritual teacher, you've reached a level, or you are about to reach a level where you really do renounce the ego, and it's not about ego. Because there's a lot of spiritual narcissism in the spiritual community. That's not what we're talking about here. So if you are doing something in this space, you made a decision to sacrifice your ego for some greater cause. If this is about love, it's like you've moved beyond, I want the person who's going to be part of a power couple or make me look good, and you've moved towards where the true love is. If this is about being the path of the mystic, you've already got the fact that you have to let go of the ego to connect with the divine. So that's beautiful. There's like such a beautiful energy about it. Devotion to the great work. So, and of course the vice is false pride. That's when we start to think, oh, we are more spiritual than somebody else or whatever. We're more. Ultimately, no matter where you are, you might be spiritually more advanced and less on something else. We all kind of balance out. But to get to that point almost where you know that you're no one in a sense is the point where you actually know that you're kind of connecting on that level. It's a kind of almost a paradox. So this is the heart and soul. So the soul and the heart, I think. And that's what this is about. So, but for some of you, it may be finding the great love that is connected to the great work. For some of you, as I say, spiritual teacher, for some of you being the path of the mystic. Let's see if we can get a little bit more information from tarot, like whether it gets a bit more specific on what this is. So we're going to start with a bit more about the message. We're going to look at what you already know about it. We're going to look at what's been hidden that this reading can reveal. So just a little bit more about what is the Hanged Man? What is this message saying to you? We have the Queen of Swords reversed, the Ace of Swords reversed, the Six of Wands, I think this is the Six of Wands reversed. Yeah, this is about renouncing the ego, all right. Strength, the Queen of Pentacles, the World reversed. Oh, yeah, I think for a lot of you, on one level or another, this is about the path of the mystic, to be honest. But I think it could play out in a great love coming in. It could play out in being a teacher. So there's many ways it could play out. But what we're seeing first is an understanding that the mind and the self-criticism in the mind and the criticism of others is what stops the purity of thought coming through. So there's a kind of a sense of wisdom going within and knowing other people's critiques, other people's ideas are not the right thing. You need to go within to find. That's what the wise one's talking about. So some of you may get to this point because you're in some very restrictive environment. You could be in a school or a university or whatever, and you think, I don't agree with what they're saying. And maybe you can't say a lot about it in that environment if you want to get good marks, for instance, but to go within to find your true wisdom, because how other people are judging you is not right. One of the things that I often say is that we're trained to think the external opinion is the objective one because, when we're little, we get marks at school and our parents tell us who we are. And then as we get older, we get grades at, say, university or some other sort of educational institutions, and then we're at work and we get a performance rating, and it's always in comparison and it's always through somebody else's view. But at the end of the day, what is external to us is just another subjective view. And I think some of this is understanding that like if you are in a harsh environment at the moment, detaching from it and looking at differently, you may think very differently. Some of you may be neurodivergent, but it's actually a path to wisdom. So that's the first thing. And like, it's not about the ego. It's not about winning. So it's not like you're going into this and thinking, okay, I disagree with I'm going to try and win the argument. It's almost like you detach. You detach from all of that ego rubbish and all of the arguments and who has to be the smartest person in the room. Wisdom is not being the smartest person in the room. I remember reading somebody said, might have been George Bernard Shaw, I'm not sure. So sorry to whoever said this if I'm not quoting correctly, but it's something like the smartest person in the room is the one who makes everybody else feel smart, not the other way around. So there's something about this where it's not about ego, and that's your strength. And you are very, very strong. And you're able to create something very stable, whether it's a love, whether it's a connection to the divine, all of those sort of things, very strong. The interesting thing, though, is for you, it's not about worldly things. It's not. You are a mystic. So even if this plays out that you're in some sort of, say, a work environment where there's critique and everything, and you eventually become the new person that people follow, because at the end of the day, you're strong in being able to be generous to others and be able to be inclusive, as opposed to this very cliquey sort of energy, for instance. Very successful potentially, but you're kind of always one foot's off away here. It's not in the world, it's in the mystical. So you're very much a mystic. But I also feel that for all of that, you thought, I have unfinished business on earth, so you came for a reason. So you may have been in a situation where you actually didn't have to come back, in terms of your own spiritual development, but you came because there's something you could give, or you came because you felt, I'm unfinished. So it's not like you would go off and sit in a mountaintop and contemplate your navel for the rest of your life to be a mystic. You are going to do this in the material world. And if it's about love, you're going to find one you're very committed to that maybe there's a soul connection to over many lifetimes. Okay, so let's see what you do know about the situation. The Emperor, the Four of Pentacles reversed, the Four of Cups reversed, the King of Swords reversed. Wow. You're definitely around some stuff that's not honest, I've got to say. The Hermit. Yeah, and you are the mystic. I think that this is definitely showing for many of you. You think very differently to the prevailing way, but it's a wiser, more spiritual way of thinking. But you're in an environment, you're dealing with things that are very material and very much about power and ego. You're the opposite of that. And this is saying for you to get past the emotional block is to understand that foundation is not the one to base it on, because it's not real. Your spiritual path is the right path. So I feel for many of you, kind of unprogramming yourself, deprogramming yourself from, maybe a very, as I say, the very worldly paradigm where we're told what our marks are and we're told who we are, to becoming who you truly are. That's what this is about, I think. And it may feel like a sacrifice sometimes, but it's actually a very beautiful thing that is connecting to you to your heart. So what don't you know about this situation that you kind of learn from this reading and from going through the process of getting your own internal wisdom? The Magician reverse. You don't know how much lack of honesty there is, actually. You underestimated a bit. The Three of Swords reversed. The Ace of Pentacles. And the Two of Swords reversed. Okay, yeah. What this is meant to really show, when you start to look at whatever this is differently and you go within for your wisdom and you connect to your heart, there is something that's very, very, it's full of lies or full of, it's false. It's false. Whether it's knowingly false or not, it's a whole other issue. A lot of people mean well, but their thinking is just out of bounds. I read a really interesting book. I think it was by M. Scott Peck, the guy who wrote The Road Less Traveled. And it was called People of the Lie. And what he was talking about, I think it was him who wrote it. Again, if I'm wrong about that, apologies to whoever the author is, but I'm pretty sure it was him who wrote it. And what the thesis was is that what we think of as evil is just kind of like misdirected thought. It's like it's misguided thought. And he had a lot of kind of like examples of that where people think that they're doing the right thing, but in fact it's creating something that's not good or compounding something that's not good. And it didn't come from a malefic point. It just came from a disordered thinking in a way. And that's almost the feeling I'm getting here. I mean, for some of you, there might be deliberately someone with the King of Swords reversed, the Queen of Swords reversed, and now the Magician reversed, who is lying to you, who is out and out lying, or is gaslighting, or is doing psyops. So that's possible. But otherwise, I just think there's disordered thinking around, and you can't go, the external is not the place to get the answer. You need to go within. And it's not going to be painful to do that. If you feel that it's a big sacrifice, this is why I feel like it's not a big sacrifice. You might think that's going to be the case, but it actually isn't going to be that painful at all. It's going to be able to allow you to start to build something that's more common sense and more material in a way. So you might think this is going to be a very painful shift that's going on, but it actually won't be. It actually won't be. It will show you where you've blocked your own decision making. And as I say, I just feel it's like, you've kind of, like all of us, you have to get to the point to be able to shake off that understanding that the external is always more objective. Now, that doesn't mean your subjective thing is always right either. I think you do need to kind of look at anything that comes towards you and really, really examine it honestly so that you take the power back. So if someone criticizes you, probably 9 times out of 10, it's going to show more about them than you. But every once in a while, they are going to be right. So you do have to be open to that, but you need to go within and be honest within yourself, because there's something dishonest in your environment. And it's probably more than you think. But once you actually understand the programming and step back from it, you really open up this wisdom. So let's have a look at some spiritual archetypes that are operating either within you or around you to help. And then we'll also have a look at what your 5D self thinks about each of those. So firstly, oh, wow, this came up for one of the others. So some of you may be going to more than one. Mistress of Despair. There is something in this that is sad. Sorrow, loss, desolation. And maybe there's a fear of that. I don't think it's going to be that major, actually. But there is, to go within and really look at this, you do have to be prepared for what could be sad about it. It won't be as painful as you think, though. It won't. The second one, the spirit guide, a connection to nature and animals. Strong spirit guides around you. As I say, mystic. But that might be the earthly thing too. It may be that like you're both connected to the divine, but you're also connected to spirit energies that are of this earth. So it's like you can call on both. And you may be meant to be a guide for others. I do think that. And you might have actually made that choice. Like, I wouldn't mind betting that in between lives you are a guide. And the stargazer, contemplating life's mysteries. Yeah, like look how she's looking up into the stars, different perspective, just looking at things differently, looking at the big picture. And for some of you, I would say astrology might be helpful. If you're trying to understand, particularly if you've been around really dishonest sort of energies, like seeing the astrology around it may be really helpful. Let's see what your 5D self has to say about each of those archetypes. Around the mistress of despair. Oh, this has come up, I think, for every single one, just in different places. Explore. Don't look at it as something, it won't be that painful. This is meant to explore who you are and what your truth is. It says, a soul adventure awaits you. Explore the uncharted waters of your inner and outer world. So inner, and then how does it apply to the outer? For the spirit guide. Detach. Retreat from situations that are not in harmony with your soul. Open to the greater love of self and the greater love of the divine. Spirit guides will help you. You do need to detach to be able to do this, to find your own wisdom. And for the stargazer, oh, that came up for others as well too. Some of you are going to more than one, I think. Atlantean soul. Your Atlantean soul brings service to humanity and an awareness of universal identity. Universal identity. Like you're in service to others. You came, it's what I'm saying, you kind of felt you had unfinished business on earth. You came to help others, but you were put into an environment where there's just a lot of BS, to be honest, propaganda, psyops, something like that, or relationships that are difficult, family patterns that are difficult, whatever it might be. But you have the ability to do this, but you do have to detach more. Be prepared for the pain of seeing certain things, but it won't be much. It really won't, pile 3. And then connecting to who you really are. Okay, let's just get a couple of planetary pairings, talking about the stargazer for what else is going on with this for you. Mars and Neptune, the action taken in the liminal space. Yeah. And the action taken towards dreams. But I think it is showing what's within in the liminal. You're going to find much more of your direction from that than you are from the external. And it's putting into action your spiritual ideals too, actually. But being, sometimes Neptune is also deceit and all those sort of things. So like how you take action to free yourself where there is deceit as well. I think it's kind of a lot of parts of the message in that planetary pairing. And maybe what is the main thing now I'm getting for some of you, if you know your chart, what's the aspect between Mars and Neptune? Is it a difficult aspect, in which case it's probably more around how you release yourself from illusion? If it's a harmonious one, it's how you take your spiritual energy out into action, I think, if you know your chart. And we have Venus, Jupiter. Yeah, like what is coming is beautiful. When the eternal love, it's to go towards the expansive, benefic, loving, caring energy, moving away from something harsher or something not real. So this is actually a very positive message, very positive message. But there is that kind of needing to step back and risk the pain to find the gain, so to speak. So last but not least, I have a new oracle called the Witchy Woman Oracle, and so it has different songs from the last 50 years, and I think music of the spheres, music is one of the key ways that the source communicates with us. But of course, then we turn it into songs and into lyrics. So what I'm looking for here is almost like a musical message, a song message from source to bring it all together. Now, I don't know all the songs in this deck. You may know the song and I may not. That doesn't really even matter that much. But it's the general energy. I'll tell you what I get, and then you might want to go and look the song up or listen to it. So for you, we get... Oh, now that's very interesting. Mr. Crowley. Apparently this is an Ozzy Osbourne song. I don't know it at all. But it's about Crowley or Crowley. It's about Aleister Crowley. So this is, I think, going from that which is potentially hidden or dark into what is true. And to me, I mean, I'm not a fan of Aleister Crowley, I've got to say, just to be honest. You may like him, I don't, but like that's completely up to you. But I think the energy around this is dealing with the mysterious in one way or another. and finding what is real and what is your journey. And I think that's what this is about. But you might want to go and listen to the song. As I say, I've never actually heard it. I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoy the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.